In China, local governments are inspecting businesses weekly to find excuses to fine them. One factory owner said he doesn't keep working capital in nearby banks because the government would use its pull with those banks and force him to grant loans. China's Ministry of Finance reported that local governments had 35 trillion yuan, $5.03 trillion, in on-the-books debt at the end of last year. But that figure makes the situation look better than it truly is. The Rhodium Group estimates that the notorious LGFVs, local government financing vehicles, alone owed 59 trillion yuan at the end of 2022. Total local government debt was far higher. Desperate local officials are almost certainly not reporting those forced loans to central authorities. The poor financial condition of local governments is just one of many symptoms of an economy in distress. China cannot be growing at the 4.5% pace reported by the official National Bureau of Statistics for the first calendar quarter. Moreover, the economy will not grow 6.2% in the first half, as official sources are predicting. Imports, perhaps the best indicator of domestic demand, have fallen for 8 straight months and 9 of the last 10. So what's worse than a contracting economy? That would be a contracting economy for which there are no solutions in sight. It is now almost impossible for Chinese ruler Xi Jinping to fix the situation. Take exports. In May, they fell 7.5% year-on-year. The forecast was for only a 0.4% drop. Factories across the country are begging for orders. Others have had to close or move to nearby countries like Vietnam. Many this year have said consumer spending would rescue the economy. That was unrealistic. About 70% of middle-class wealth is locked in property, and the property sector, which accounts for at least a quarter of gross domestic product, is ailing. Domestic consumption is weak in large part because pessimism pervades China. The flood of Chinese migrants at America's southern border is just one indication that middle-class Chinese are giving up on their country. The migrants are, by and large, not poor. They are able to pay $35,000 a head to Mexican cartels to smuggle them across the border. Despite what it says about encouraging consumer spending, China's central government is adopting measures limiting personal income, like decreasing deposit rates at the banks. In the past, Chinese leaders would just create debt and build infrastructure projects to manufacture GDP. Yet China is now overburdened by debt incurred in previous stimulus efforts, like the massive one after the 2008 global downturn. With too many white elephant projects resulting from poorly conceived pump priming efforts, senior officials now realize it's not a good idea to throw good money after bad. Chinese officials talk about structural reform but then don't engage in it. That's not surprising. To implement such change at this late stage would collapse the economy because there is too much debt. Total country debt could be as high as 350% of GDP. Xi Jinping, unfortunately, reveres Mao Zedong and is opting for Mao's totalitarian approach to the economy. Xi's Mao-like plan is to assault foreign companies and issue impossible-to-believe statistics to convince everyone that the situation is dandy. At the moment, China's central officials are just trying to keep money in the country with their strict currency controls and other coercive mechanisms. China's currency walls have held the economy together so far, but even they cannot contain what is coming next. When it comes, the failure of China will undoubtedly be the biggest crash in history. In a fragile global economy, a Chinese crisis will panic markets, one right after the other.